I Wow, making so much noise already. Yeah, we're gonna do a quick stream, probably like an hour or so. I just have some stuff to do today, but it's nice to stream at a different time that isn't um not super late at night, but it's like I stream, then I go off, and then I still have energy, and then I'm like, oh, I'm not tired, I'll just start reading, and then it's 1 a.m. So, you know, it's nice to, be doing this at a more reasonable time. But yeah, I have a cool video today. Uh, this is someone that not many people have heard of, Robert Anton Wilson. He is, I don't know how to describe him. I really don't. I don't even know if he would describe himself this way, but a science fiction writer. Gee, that is so loud. I'm late. How am I late? Didn't I say I was going to be here at this time? What time did I say I was going to be here yesterday? I don't remember. It's 6 p.m. Wow, just when humans actually here. What's up, Sahita? But yeah, this guy's very, very interesting. He's a very unique perspective. Um, I really appreciate people like that, if you couldn't tell. So why don't get copied? Let me know if the stream cuts out, because yesterday I was reacting to something and apparently it was copyrighted, so I couldn't even live stream it, even though it would fall under transformative content, so I'd be fine. Just very stupid. Like there's certain, I guess you say content creators or certain individuals that keep their um, content more restricted. So I just have to be more aware of that in the future. So let me know if that happens.
In
It's
around
okay, Dot.
1973,
Is this early enough for you, man?
I became convinced for a while that I was receiving messages from outer space. But then a psychic reader told me I was actually channeling an ancient Chinese
This is so funny what he's about to say.
philosopher, and another psychic reader told me I was channeling a medieval Irish bard. And at that time, I started reading neurology, and I decided it was just my right brain talking to my left brain. And then I went to Ireland and I found out it was actually a 6 foot tall white rabbit. They call it the puka, and the Irish know all about it. So it depends on who I'm talking to, which of these metaphors I use to explain where the
This is so funny 'cause he's just saying that, he seeing things, he's, having weird dreams, and every single different group has their own interpretation of it. And it's really what you choose to believe. This is perfect time. Okay. Yeah, I'll try to do streams like this more and more often. There's certain days where I can. Um, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how like I don't know, maybe if I start streaming earlier then I can sleep easier and then I can make the videos better. I don't know. We'll play it by ear. We'll see how it goes. Emerson's essays are taking me so long. Yeah. Yeah. Like his essay Self-Reliance took me probably 2, 3 hours to go through and it's 14 pages. It's like I can read like 15, 20 pages in 10 minutes, like easily. I'm just guessing, but it's probably something around then. And it's like, you like the nighttime though? No, I'll stream at night too sometimes, but I don't know, like schedule wise, I think this works better for me. But it also could be like, let's say I have 45 minutes to an hour. I can do a quick stream, come hang out. Then I can do one later if I have time again. So um, I don't know. I maybe should just make a schedule. I feel like if I just look at my schedule and I block in certain times for streams, I think that'll um, help as well. But yeah,
these weird patterns come from that jump out of the books and take hold of the readers and change their lives. It's not me, it's a 6 foot tall white rabbit from County Kerry. Or it's the right hemisphere of everybody's brain. We're only different in the left hemisphere. In the right hemisphere, we all share in the same morphogenetic field.
The collective
And
unconscious.
the collective unconscious.
Now, you've been accused by some people, one might think of them as fundamentalist material.
this guy has like a really weird perspective. He's like can't remember the word he describes himself as, but basically he doesn't believe too strongly in anything, and he likes to see the open-endedness of life. He likes to see that each person has their own perception of the world, and these perceptions go about shaping your worldview. So, like, how I perceive the world to be might be correct for me, but it's not correct for him. Or it's not correct for you. And it's all about being open to these differences and understanding this principle, and then, kind of getting past these differences.
Materialists as being something of a fanatic, actually, and yet it seems that you're almost the opposite. Reality is extremely slippery for you. I don't get the feeling that you're stuck on any one model of reality.
Well, you know what Freud wrote about projection. The people, yeah, I have been accused of being a fanatic and the skeptical inquirer, but you just have to open.
Freud writing about projection is one of the funniest things because Freud's entire basis of his psychology or whatever field of psychology, I don't remember the exact term, what he coined or invented, but his entire thing was that everything's sexual, and if it's not sexual, then it's psychosexual. Like there's some weird relation to sexuality, and you just can't comprehend it. Like, tell me that's not projection. Tell me not, that boiling down every fundamental issue with human beings is completely all sexual. You know what I mean? Like that's projection if I've ever seen it. But
In
yeah,
that journal to see the people who put it out are all fanatics. And the people who accuse me of being possessed by devils are all.
the lab cut off for you. Says I'm good right now. I'll get an email if it
The type of right-wing fundamentalist who rolls
scared.
around and speaks in tongues and gives all the signs of being possessed by the devil themselves. So I tend to
I mean, this is
look
like a
at,
30-year interview, so to get
I
copyrighted for
think
it's kind of
I
crazy.
basically
But
I'm a mirror. My books are mirrors, and when a monkey looks in, no philosopher looks out.
Well, how do you separate the inside?
I can't wait to. This guy wrote a bunch of. Oh my God, I hate this. Like this feature is so annoying. I'm literally just. I always click on it, and it always just gives me not what I want. Um, that's one thing. These are his books. So the one I want to read, where is it? I think it's this one. I think this is his first book. I'm really excited to read this though. It deals with conspiracies, and it kind of is like satirical about them. I don't know. This guy just has such an interesting perspective that I can't wait
From
to
the
pick that up.
outside.
Well, that is one of the difficulties. That's why people get embroiled in weirdities while they're reading my books, because I'm dissolving the difference between the inside and the outside. Like most people think their head is inside the universe, but I have demonstrated in several of my books that the universe is inside our heads. Our head is outside the universe. This whole studio, for instance.
This is what some people call simulation theory.
It's got to be inside my head or I wouldn't be aware of it. I've got a model of it inside my head. Now, inside
What's
that
up,
model
fella?
of the studio is a model of me. And on top of the model of me is a model of my head. But that's not my real head. My real head contains the studio and my body and this model of a head. And it's the same with the whole universe. The whole universe is a model contained in my head, which contains a model of my head. So I've got two heads, the head outside the universe and the head inside the universe. Now, that should be perfectly clear, but if it isn't, Bertrand Russell has a proof using six-dimensional geometry in his book, The Nature of Human Knowledge. I hope that clarifies which is inside and which is outside.
I think people think about like simulation theory in a very like stupid way. It's like, oh, we're in a one big computer simulation. It's like, no, you are the simulation. Your mind is the simulation. It's very like, it's like a surface level understanding of, I guess you'd say, for lack of better words, the universe. Like whatever stimulus I see in front of me right now is actively shaped by my consciousness's perception of it. So like You might say one word, and to me that means a certain image, gives me a certain feeling, it gives me a certain impression, it conveys a certain message. But to you, that message is going to be slightly different. And this is really what he's talking about right here. Like, on a grand scheme, all of these differences create different worlds for each different individual.
Side, and we don't have to get trapped in that again.
Well, one of the points that you often make is that we get caught up in these apparent paradoxes because of linguistic habits and a habit that we've had since the time of Aristotle of thinking in terms of syllogistic logic.
Well, yeah, I believe our language, we can only see what we observe, and we can only observe what we have categories for in our.
What's solipsism again? I forgot. That's like when you put yourself, you view yourself as more important than everyone else. Can't remember. Probably being very self-centered, selfish. Um, I don't understand how that's selfish. You know what I mean? That's just how consciousness works. That's just how your mind works. Your mind has to perceive images. It has to connect the dots, and it's not a universal experience. It's a person-to-person experience. So it's like you can call it selfish, but that's just a dumb way of approaching things. Can you start there? Thanks.
Language. That's known as the Whorf hypothesis in anthropology. Actually, it goes back to Guillaume Battista Vico, an 18th century Neapolitan who has been a major influence on me as well as on James Joyce. And my books are full of neologisms and odd uses of language just to break through the habits of perception that are conditioned by using ordinary English.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting because what this guy's talking about, like, it's considered new, but Spinoza said this, I think, in Spinoza was basically saying this in 1632. So
You once wrote a
it's
whole
very funny
book
how like
without
old
using
ideas
the
just come
verb
back to
is.
Yes,
what's
that's
rare.
quantum psychology.
Mm-hmm.
You
I
can even go
also
further back
break sentences
and say the Taoists and the Buddhists had a deep, deep understanding of these ideas as well.
up in the Burroughs way, so
Even
there's
the
no
Gnostic
subject and
Christians or
predicate. I use
Freemasons or
Joycean stream of consciousness.
alchemists or
I
the
run
ancient
words together, so
Egyptians.
one word has
It's all the same
five
stuff.
different meanings depending on which way you look at the sentence, like Joyce did in Finnegan's Wake. All of this is attempts to get us out.
Has anyone read James Joyce? I read a little bit when I was in high school, but I didn't. I don't know. I didn't really give it a chance because like I didn't like my teacher. So perhaps I like wasted a opportunity to learn something. But this guy, like in all the interviews I've heard from him, he like really loves James Joyce. So I think this is someone that I'm gonna have to start reading very soon because um my my approach to learning, my approach to things is anyone that kind of changes the game, anyone that kind of creates their own field or creates their own style of doing things is someone to be studied. And yeah, seems to me like he really redefined the genre of fiction, redefined the genre of literature. And I don't know, I'm interested to learn.
Out of the lines of word and image that were laid down by our ancestors. After all, if we're seeing the world our ancestors put into our language, we're not seeing the world we're living in. It's obvious that our ancestors did not live with computers, spaceships, George Bush, and other incredible occurrences that are typical of our lives.
Let's see if there's another video of him. This is a good video. It's not a video that's in here, so watch this if you get a chance. All right, we'll go to we watched the Terrence McKenna video the other day. It's pretty interesting. See what this is about. This guy was so Terrence McKenna is very popular, or I don't know if you call him popular, but he's most well known for being a proponent of consciousness alteration through psychedelics, through other drugs, and not that I necessarily agree with that. I think you can do all this stuff through meditation, all this stuff through various different practices, but he does have an interesting perspective, and yeah, why not hear him out?
Citizens don't take psychedelics because it's illegal. Neither do marionettes. Neither do robots. None of these.
If you look into a lot of ancient religions, I think the one that I can point to the easiest, with like without a shadow of a doubt, is the Native American cultures. They would use peyote to basically gain a new perspective, to basically break down some of the barriers to consciousness that are surrounded by them, change their perception in some way, have a religious experience or just seeing things from a new way, seeing things from a new light. And there's actually a famous Supreme Court case where basically they did not allow the natives to take peyote, even though it was part of a religious ceremony, simply because they were like, no, your First Amendment rights are not as important as this. It's like, it's kind of fucking crazy to me. You know what I mean? The First Amendment is something that we hark on, something that we say is tremendous, but like, we can't even let people do religious ceremonies in a controlled manner because we're afraid that a few people might gain a little bit of perspective and, become better individuals for it. Not saying that um, everyone comes out better for it, but I mean, the shamans know what they're doing, man. They really do. There's an ancient wisdom and ancient knowledge to these things that it's uh it's incredible. There's various stories. Manly P. Hall wrote a whole book about it of Native American healers basically curing people miraculously through their spiritual means when modern medicine couldn't. And it's a good book as well. I think it's called Healing the Magic Art or something. Just look up Manly P. Hall on medicine.
These well-behaved and mechanistic reductionist images of humanity take psychedelics because it's misbehaving. Misbehaving is a great sin. In fact, it's enshrined as the first sin. You'll regard that the psychedelic issue was.
So the idea of sin is one that is very misunderstood. The original intention of sin, before it got really perverted and became something to be ashamed of, the idea of sin was to misstep, was to miss the mark. And it's not so much that you did something wrong, it's that you did something wrong and didn't learn from it. You did something wrong and hid it. You shunned it from the light. And because of that, it develops into something much, much worse. But I mean, if you're religious, we're born imperfect. Why is it why is it a bad thing that you mess up? If you learn from it and you never do it again, then why is it bad? But it's the shame and guilt that we associate with sin, that we associate with things we do wrong that make it a destructive force in this world. Even the idea of original sin isn't quite correct because I don't know about you, but have you ever looked at like a newborn baby and have you gone, that little thing is evil? I- Like that's just one of the most fucked up ideas I've ever heard. Like to say that that baby with the pure innocence on that face, the goofiest smile you'll ever see is evil. It just doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't quite click. And I think the story of original sin, the story of the fall of man, is really an allegorical representation of society bringing you down and you having to overcome and build yourself back up from it. Osho said it probably the best. You were born perfect and society made you imperfect, and now you just have to return to that perfect state. This is basically Jungian psychology as well. So,
Was there in Eden, and somebody misbehaved, and then they got tossed out forever and their children's children into the chaos of history. It's interesting to read in Genesis why this was. It was because they will become as we are, says Yahweh. They will become as we are if they eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge. I suggest to you that this is precisely.
people see this as a bad thing. The fall of man is a bad thing, but I think it's a good thing. We were talking last night about why death makes life worth living. Because if you live forever, what's the point of living life? I think Jordan Peterson said this. This is one of his only quotes I will ever use. He said, "What kind of sick bastard wants to be happy every single day?" Like, if you're happy every single day, then it means nothing. If you're happy every single day, then, you know, you have no metric to judge your life off of. But if you deal with setbacks, if you deal with things not going your way, then you can really appreciate when things go right. And it's things going wrong and you being forced to change and you being forced to grow that make life worth meaningful. It's the same thing with death. Like, if there's no urgency, then we'll wait thousands of years to, get out of bed. We'll wait thousands of years to chase our dreams. We'll wait thousands of years to write that book or, do whatever it is that you're inspired to do, but you haven't picked up whatever tool it is that you do it with. I was going to say that pen, but I was already talking about creative stuff.
What we should seek to do. We empower our experience by insisting on our authenticity. It's a wonderful thing to learn to be able to stand up and yell bullshit, because so much is being slung.
Dude, every video
and
feels the
nobody is
ISR.
talking about the primacy of experience and the dignity of the individual. The dignity of the individual. We went a long way with this in America before we betrayed it. And it wasn't only betrayed by the clowns in Washington.
So most of philosophy is dealing with the issue of the individual in the context of society and how to be a good individual in society. And there's very few, I would say, philosophers that get it right. I mean, I'm going to leave a bunch out because I haven't read every single philosopher, but the ones that really hit at the core of things are Nietzsche. Jung really isn't a philosopher, but if you sift out the philosophy in his writings, you'll find the same thing. Thoreau, Emerson, Lao Tzu, if you consider Buddha a philosopher, those are really the people that understood that the focus always has to be on the individual. When we sacrifice parts of ourselves to be part of the collective, when we sacrifice our dreams, our wishes, our everything that makes us happy, then, you know, maybe you're a functioning, productive member of society, but you're not happy. And you have to stress your happiness first because I mean, not even in a selfish way. Like, dude, I'm in a relationship right now. If I'm unhappy day after day after day after day, then the person I love the most in this world has to deal with me being unhappy, and I'm going to bring them down. I'm going to make their days worse. Shouldn't I be happy so that the people that love me and the people that I love can also be lifted up by that? Like it's not a selfish thing to put your happiness first. It's the fundamental basis to be a good person. If you're unhappy, if you're unfulfilled, then you're going to take it out on someone in some way. It's such a like backwards thing. Like I don't see selfishness as a bad thing. It's selfishness for the sake of selflessness. That's a key idea. Not selfishness to put yourself ahead of others, but to find happiness, to find joy, to find fulfillment, so that you can give others those same feelings. Does that make sense?
It's also betrayed by anybody who
Because I know we were
clusters
talking about
themselves around the
solipsism
feet
earlier.
of some self-proclaimed nabob. Because the fact of the matter is, nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows. Nobody has the faintest idea. The best guesses are lies. You may be sure of it. And so to pretend that one human being will lead another out of the dark night of ignorance and into the shining light of truth is ludicrous.
I think this was Osho that said this. The best leaders don't lead you, they lead you to yourself. Like if someone is inspiring you, if someone is giving you a message, and then you disagree with them, and they're like, no, that's wrong, and then they excommunicate you, that's not a leader. Like if you watch my videos and you disagree with me, but you find something about yourself that you didn't know before, that's all I want. I don't want you to blindly follow me. I don't want anybody to look to me as an absolute example because I'm imperfect. There's a lot of things I still struggle with. And it's like a good leader leads you to yourself. I don't want you to be anything else except yourself. I'm not saying that I'm a leader. I don't want to be a leader.
Absolutely grotesque. A product of this empowering of the human image that has gone on through several thousand years of dominator culture. If you want a teacher, try a waterfall, or a mushroom, or a mountain wilderness, or a storm-pounded seashore. This is where the action is. It's not back in the hive. It's not in the anthill. It's not knocking your head against the floor in front of somebody who claims that because of their lineage and whose feet they washed and whose feet they washed, that you should give credence to them. Knowledge is provisional, and we are yet to approach even the first moment of civilized understanding. The way it is to be done is by trusting yourself, trusting your intuition.
These are very, very important ideas. What are you doing?
To wash my face.
Oh,
Reject authority.
Why are you
Authority
crying?
is a lie and an abomination.
Why did I make you
Authority
cry?
will lead you into ruin. It's not real. And it isn't, don't get the idea that it's this liberal rap about how everybody has a piece of the action. You know, the Jews know something, the Buddhists know something, the Huichol know something. Nonsense. Rubbish. Nobody knows anything. These are different kinds of
Nobody knows anything.
shell games that have been worked out by priestly castes of people to keep things under control. Institutions seek to maximize control, control, control. That's what they're into. Did you think they were in the business of enlightening you? Saving your soul?
One of the scariest things is that you realize that, wow, distracting me is so crazy. Wow. One of the craziest things to realize is the Catholic Church has more money than any institution on earth, any bank, any corporation. They could literally end world hunger today, but it's not about being benevolent. It's not about helping people. It's about money. It's about control. It's about the institution. It's very, very sad. I mean, you can look at the Crusades, you can look at any of these other events. It's not seeking enlightenment, and that's what really disillusioned me for the longest time. And I think this is what disillusioned a lot of people as well.
Forget it. Control is what this is all about. And to the degree that we commit ourselves to ideology, we are poisoned. Any ideology, Marxism, Catholicism, objectivism.
Think about freedom of speech as well. We have freedom of speech in America, but is it actually freedom? Because most of the speech is constricted to only two parties. You can only have one opinion or another. There's no such thing as nuance. And if you have a take that's anywhere in the middle, you're considered like, oh, you betrayed this side. You betrayed this side. Oh, you're evil because you believe this. And then it's not freedom of ideas. It's freedom of speech if you conform to the preconceived notions of what are popular opinions, but if you say anything outside the fact, you get shamed. You get looked at like you're, some weirdo, you're some anarchist, you're someone that, you know, isn't fit to be in society. It's very weird how we have these protections on paper, but not protections in reality.
You name it. Rubbish. All rubbish. What is real is experience. What is real is this moment. And so then what it becomes about is what are the frontiers of experience? How much of that has been taken away from us by these dominators, by these priesthoods, by these cults, by these philosophical shell games? Well, a lot. That's the whole story of history. Our growing unease, our growing dis-ease, our malaise is all about the fact that we are kept from the wellspring of experience. We are sexually repressed. You may not feel it, but look back 100 years to a world where pianos.
There used to be a day and age where again, I'm not advocating for this, but everyone was walking around naked and no one had any shame. But think, even when you're in a locker room, like you're covering up, you're like ashamed of how you look. And meanwhile, like thousands of years ago, we wouldn't have think twice about walking around naked in front of people. But we're told to be ashamed of our bodies. Again, some people should be. No, I don't think anyone should feel any shame, but it's just weird how like we just accept these realities. We accept these things that are restrictive to us, and we don't think twice about them. It's the idea of after Adam and Eve ate the fruit of knowledge, they immediately put on clothes. They immediately began to feel shame. They immediately began to realize that they were naked. Prior to this, they didn't think. And it's this loss of innocence. It's this, conformity to certain things that take away from your experience as an individual.
Wore pants. We've made a little progress on the sexual thing. Maybe not. Maybe more or less than we think. But we are
I think it's
repressed
worse.
in all
I think the repression's worse today than ever
all of
has
these
been.
areas. And we are particularly repressed in the area that relates to the psychedelic experience because it is.
And I don't really say it's worse because think of how many people, it doesn't matter who you are, like you know someone in your life whose entire life is about sex, and like what is that aside from expressing what has been suppressed their entire lives? You know what I mean? Like there's way more to life than just having sex, and it's just we all know someone who that's their main goal. Like I have a friend that I like I'll talk shit to, I'll make fun of, and his number one response is like, "Oh, I get more girls than you." I'm like, I don't care. Like, what is that? Is that some badge of honor? Is that something you should be proud of? Is that something that you should weigh up in the grand scheme of things as the most important accomplishment you've ever had? Like, wouldn't you rather just have someone that you deeply care about? Wouldn't you rather just have stability? Wouldn't you rather just have someone that you can turn to for every single thing in your life? You know what I mean? Like it's very weird how we think of relationships and sex as purely a physical thing, not the spiritual aspects of it. But again, these aren't concepts that the average person will think about because it's, you know, it's been taught to be conforming. It's been taught to if something's popular, I like it. Oh, I like fantasy football. Oh, I like this. I like that. Like, oh, I'm on TikTok because everyone else is. Oh, I like JoJo Siwa because I was told to like her. Like, you know what I mean? Think of how many things don't justify your attention, but you give them your attention anyway.
It is raid to the dominator insect invasion. They can't take it. They can't stand it because it empowers the individual. It dissolves the cheerful model of science.
What's
It's
up,
just
Hypnotia?
exposed as, a nice.
Hypnotia, are you proud of me watching Terrence McKenna? I like some of his stuff. Some of the stuff I don't agree with, but most of the perspective I agree with, but some of the applications I'm like, um, I would refine just a little bit to perfectly right. I'm gonna run to the bathroom quick. I'll be back in like a minute. Come a long way. No, I feel like I would have agreed with him. I just didn't. I didn't know he had like videos to react to. Otherwise, I would have reacted to him. But yeah, how's everything, man? Everything good? I was talking earlier. I think I should start doing more streams like this at different times because I think it would just be more fun. I don't know. Like it's cool and all doing streams late at night, but then it ruins the rest of my night, ruins my sleep schedule. So I think I'll start doing more streams like this.
Story. It enriches the
Yeah, he's definitely ahead of his time with a lot of his thinking. Mad Hatter drug thoughts is a perfect way to put it. Yeah, no, it's like anything. I was talking yesterday or whenever I was reacting to other videos from him, like he was making a lot of like crazy predictions, and I'm like, if you're gonna make predictions about the advancement of humanity, I think you gotta refine it. Because think like when they did Back to the Future, they made the technology so like advanced that it kind of doesn't hold up to today, and it kind of is like funny. Same thing with Blade Runner, like it's so futuristic, but like the time has literally passed, and you're like, all right, this was a bad prediction. You know what I mean? It's like they should when you're making predictions about the advancement of humanity, you should also understand about how, if anything great gets accomplished, it immediately becomes monetized and won't see public use on a mass scale until 50, 60 years later, until they raked every consumer over the coals. You know what I mean? Like, think about the invention of the telephone. Like, when it first was invented, very few people had them, but now everyone has them. Meanwhile, if you just produced it en masse, it would have advanced communication, would have advanced the spread of information so much. And where would we be if the minute it was invented, everyone had access to it? You know what I mean? So everything's going well. Yeah, everything's going pretty good with me right now. I don't know. I've just been realizing that I've been for my entire life stressing myself out, and I'm starting to break that pattern. So things are really starting to go really, really, really good for me. That was one of the last things I struggled with, and yeah, everything's looking on the up and up. I'm reading the Red Book right now by Jung, like 60 pages in, so I should finish that within the next week, hopefully. Yeah, I'm just excited. The next thing I'm gonna read is Thus Spoke Zarathustra. I've had this for like a year now, and I just haven't picked it up, so I guess it's a good time to actually begin reading it. But yeah,
Accessible universe tenfold, a hundredfold, a thousandfold. It makes the individual complete within his or her self. And this completion of the individual is extremely destructive to the plan of the dominators, which is that you will be a cog in a machine. You will participate in the life of an organization. Not your life, the life of an organization. You will go to some bullshit.
dude, Brave New World was a pretty good prediction. That's the thing, though. I think if Orwell just didn't title the book 1984, I think the book would be much more profound. But simply that the prediction didn't come true in 1984, um, it makes it less valid. You know what I mean? Like the ideas aren't any less valid, but the idea that this would happen in 1984 was obviously incorrect. So, but I don't know. Like when you look around, are we not braving the world? Everyone's hopped up on antidepressants. Everyone conforms. There's a shift away from God. There's a shift away from meaning. Um, there's a mass movement to have as many sexual partners as possible and not be tied down. I mean, look at how popular polyamory is. Like, you know what I mean? There's certain things of life that are being flipped on its head, and certain things taking, um, you know, centerfold that you know Aldous Huxley really did predict. What's up, Malik? How's everything? Yeah, dude, where you been, man? I haven't seen you probably like 2, 3 weeks now, right? I can't remember the last time I saw you. I'm not gonna lie though, I've been streaming at like weird times. I've tried to get consistent, but I've just been not burnt out, but like I haven't adjusted to my new schedule yet. So
Job. You will pour the best years of your life and your genius and your hopes into this. You will serve an institution. You will serve, 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 serve. Well,
solo parties.
it's a bad idea for free people to go along with this. A much better idea would be to insist on the dignity of human beings, to recognize.
Isn't it so funny how in the 60s people were up in arms about the Beatles saying, I want to hold your hand, and now I wish Cardi B only sung about holding hands. Like, holy shit. Dude, I'm in the gym and I really have to I don't like putting my headphones loud because I'm just listening to books, but like, I literally have to put my headphones like double the volume simply to not hear Cardi B talking about her wet ass pussy. Like, what the fuck is this world come to? I truly, there's not a moment that I don't lose faith in society when I listen to modern music. I don't entirely agree with this guy. Yeah, I mean, structure is important to society, but it's how reliant on society do you want to be? I mean, have you ever read Walden? I think that would be a good place to start with these kinds of ideas. This is very heavily Eastern ideology. If you've read any Taoism, if you've read any Buddhism, this would be ideas that would be more agreeable. But I think there is a huge, huge, huge push, especially in the West, for conformity. Some people rebel against society. Yeah, yeah. And again, dude, people are gonna do stupid things any day. I think Camus said it best. I rebel, therefore we exist. And this is the idea that there will never be a society that isn't rebellious. There'll never be a society that completely meets the needs of every single person. But I think Osho had it best where he said he was a rebel, but not a revolutionary. He was a rebel as in that he wouldn't conform, but he would never seek change through the political system. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can have structure without conformity. Yeah, yeah. I think it's the best definition of um what you're saying is Thoreau said something along the lines of like, I want a government that is has a passive role in the individual, but we have the government that we have simply because people haven't taken the responsibilities upon themselves. You know what I mean? Like we need social programs, we need, roads being maintained, we need all these things simply because people haven't solved these issues for themselves. I'm not saying that it's possible, but I mean, we can certainly take steps to having a government that is way, way, way less restrictive of individuality. What's up, Eddie? How's everything?
Is that the freeing of slaves, the giving of the vote to women, the ending of public whippings, that this program of political enlightenment must also then include hands off on how people want to relate to changing their minds. We are not interested in being sexually regulated by the state, and we are not interested in being intellectually, spiritually, emotionally manipulated by the state. The state should stand down in this issue. The state is acting as the enforcing arm of the dominator culture, specifically of fundamentalists.
I think a lot of like the political activism, it's advocating for obviously like good issues, but it's almost like the government gives us these issues and then takes more when it comes to your personal freedom, which is kind of sad.
Screwballs who, are horrified by all this, by the notion that
Like
people
people will argue all day about whatever rights, but we still have the Patriot Act. Like whatever law in the books that you're against, I think the Patriot Act is scarier than any single one. You know what I mean? And it's like there's all of this political noise about all these different issues about how Trump is so evil, this or that, but dude, the Patriot Act is still on the books. It's like I don't, you know what I mean? It's like there's always like I feel like we're arguing for peanuts when there's a much, much bigger thing that we should all be up in arms about.
would claim
Yeah.
the authenticity of their own minds, that people would stand in the light of nature and reject original sin and the guilt from Eden and, the sins of the fathers and all this rubbish which is handed down. What the archaic revival is going to have to
Yeah.
mean, if it has teeth, is a re-empowering of the individual and a consequent lowering of the profile of institutions, especially government.
This is what Thoreau wanted. This is what is the antithesis of Thoreau's syllogism.
We need to think about these things because we have bought into the idea that we have to serve and behave and be enslaved, else chaos will engulf the world. We need to carry out our analysis of the situation to the point where we can embrace chaos and see that chaos is the environment in which we all thrive. If we continue as we have, then, we're doomed. And the judgment of some higher power on that will be they didn't even struggle. They went to the boxcars with their suitcases and they didn't even struggle. This is too nightmarish to contemplate. We're talking about the fate of a whole planet.
I think a lot of people think this is just it's like a whole cabal of things. It's a whole uh like it's a conspiracy, it's this, it's that, but it's just the human being's need for conformity and the human being's need for comfort or the perceived need for these things that are basically stripping away the individual and sacrificing everything for the collective and making everything more oppressive in the means of individual rights and individuality. If you want to have no expectations and want less, it's amazing how much abundance we already have. Yes, yes. That was one of the only things I really harkened on in the video I made about Walden. It's it's not about going to live to the woods. It's not about um, becoming a monk. It's about reducing the stimulus in your life that doesn't do anything for you, reducing the need for more. And when you don't want anything, that's when you can appreciate everything. Like if I'm out here saying I want 10 supercars, the moment I get 10 supercars, I want an 11th. If I just want one really reliable car that, I can drive for the next 10 years, that isn't going to cost me a lot of money, that, is going to be safe for my kids when I have them, like, then I can really appreciate that car. But the moment I want more and more and more and more and more is the moment that it begins to lose its meaning, it begins to lose its value. And like you said, this is the real meaning of Walden. Get back to simplicity and the meaning is just apparent. But we're so distracted day after day after day. We see people on social media with no talent that have more money than you can ever imagine. There's, a million responsibilities. You have all these emails you have to respond to. You have to go to work. You have to do this. You have to do that. Oh, you're sick. Like all of these things take away from our ability to perceive happiness. A carry last lifetime. That's so true. I was thinking about like a Forerunner or something like that when I was saying a car that would last forever.
Why are people so polite? Why are they so patient? Why are they so forgiving of gangsterism and betrayal? It's very difficult to understand. I believe it's because the dominator culture is increasingly more and more sophisticated in its perfection of subliminal mechanisms of control. And I don't mean anything grandiose and paranoid. I just mean that through press releases and sound bites and the enforced idiocy of television, the drama of a dying world has been turned into a soap opera for most people. And they don't understand that it's their story and that they will eat it in the final act if somewhere between here and the final act they don't stand up on their hind legs and howl. So this whole effort to
I mean, like I said, you go on Twitter, you'll see the idea that oh, everything's being controlled. It's like, okay, maybe it's just people want to be happy. Maybe it's just people want simplicity, they want conformity, they want comfort, and it's a lot easier to get home and take out your iPad, take out your iPhone, scroll on TikTok than it is to read, than it is to meditate, than it is to journal, than it is to do anything productive. But we've replaced these short term, we replace these long-term fulfillment, these more, delayed gratification moments for the instant gratification of going on TikTok, of watching reality TV, of doing all these things. Think of how many people will, replace an actual relationship with the drama of a reality TV show. Think of how popular like The Bachelor is. It's literally just, you know, people don't have drama in their lives, so they want to supplant this with something else.
bring the psychedelic experience back into prominence is an effort to empower individuals and to get them to see that
This
we
is
are
where
bled of our
there's
authenticity by vampirish institutions that will never of their own accord leave us alone. There must be a moment when the machinery and the working of the machinery becomes so odious that people are willing to stride forward and throw sand on the track.
yeah, it's crazy to me that AI is just like AI has the capability to do so many things, but it's literally just being used to sell us ads. It's like I saw this meme the other day, or this was weeks ago, but it was like America if they built the pyramids, and it was like a Bass Pro Shop label was on it. There was a McDonald's on the top of it. Like there was a highway through it so you could drive around it. It was the funniest thing. Like if we all of a sudden invented teleportation or any sort of great achievement that we've always tried to do, it would be used for the stupidest, most, you know, monetized way possible. And it's just like, it tells us everything about the current state of society. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly why Elon bought Twitter is because he also owns Neuralink. and it's giving him basically years and years and years of data worth of human stream of consciousness. You know what I mean? Think of like, I mean, YouTube, I guess when I go live, it's more stream of consciousness. I guess it's more of my spontaneous thoughts. But out of any platform, Twitter is the most that it's just, just your thought every 10 minutes. So that's definitely why I bought it.
Track and force a reevaluation of the situation.
Not
And
rush
it's not
moments
done
about
through
it.
organizing, it's not done through vanguard parties
Yeah,
and
I can see
cadres
that.
of intellectual elites. It's done through just
Oh
walking away
my
from all
God.
of that. Claiming your identity, claiming your vision, your being, your intuition, and then acting from that without
Dude, there's a hypnotic. I know you know who Christian is. He so when he got arrested, they like classified his Sonichu medallion as like a religious artifact. So there's like this theory that in 1,000 years someone will find this religious artifact and they'll like recognize it as like some great archaeological find. Is that not just the funniest thing imaginable?
regret. Cleanly, without regret.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of After School. If you enjoy the art on this,
I think that's like one of the most horrific ideas that one day that the Sonichu medallion would be seen as a uh any more interesting videos. How long have I been streaming for? Because I got to do something at 3, so I can't stay on too much longer. But you guys want to talk about anything before I go? I could start going through another video, but I'm just not gonna be able to finish it if I go through it. Dude, my friend is like spamming my phone right now, about to like schizophrenically just talk to me. Like he's been just spamming my phone with just the most nonsense ever. Um, it's so annoying. Everything we write is at a risk of being misunderstood, a blessing and a curse. Do I lean to any conspiracy theory? Yeah, JFK is. I mean, if you think whatever story you've been told is the correct one, like I think you need to, get put in a padded cell because that one is just so clearly we're not supposed to know the truth about it. I mean, that's just the go-to one. I think all the other ones are interesting to like look into, but I don't really care. I don't really care enough about it to be like, oh, they're lying to us, this, that. Like it's not. No, my friend is posting about Jesus, but he doesn't. It's like the last thing you want an insane person to do is start shit posting about God. That never really ends well. Um, you know what I mean? Like you don't want to get these people that are mentally unwell thinking that they're messengers of God, I think. I'm not really for any sort of mind-altering medication, but I think this dude is the exception. I'm not. It's very sad. It really sucks, man. It really does. It's sad because he's a great guy, but it's just Chris Bledsoe. No, who's that? Let's see what this is. The cycle of addiction starts with your thoughts. That's it.
when we were born, like Elizabeth.
Yeah, no, that I get what you're saying. I would normally say that too, but like when you're a certain level of crazy, like it's not a good idea to put these like religious images in your mind and say that, oh, it's a spiritual war, oh, Satan's trying to come after me. Like, I mean, the idea of angels and demons are only as powerful as you give it. So it's like if you think other things can influence your life, then they can. In order to sell your soul to the devil, your soul needs to be for sale. And it's like, how else could it be for sale if you fixate every single moment of the day thinking that the devil is coming after you? You know what I mean? I don't know. I think it's like at a certain point, they just like this dude just has to go in a sensory deprivation tank and just calm down his mind because it's so worked up, you can tell.
Spring Dow, who was born here yesterday. We come into the world, we come from being fully at home and feeling that release that comes. We have a little shadow of it when we come home at the end of the day, those of you that have a home, and put your feet up.
He's apparently been able to meditate and get glowing orbs to visit him on command. Yeah, I mean, if you look into Crowley, Crowley would say that that stuff's just a projection of his unconscious. It's very interesting when it comes to that stuff. Some people believe it's an outside entity. Some people believe it's just you. Um, I don't concern myself with it that much. I don't really have an opinion on it, but
or relax or have a cup of tea or whatever that is, that feeling of coming home or coming to a safe space or feeling back at peace or at one. And when we get separated from that, and that separation, I want to keep reiterating, is created by the mind. That's what the basic issue of the ignorance that is the root of suffering that the Buddha keeps pointing out. The basic root of suffering is thought, the clinging of the mind to things which separate one from all of it.
it's the attachments. Your mind is a tool, but your mind also likes to get attached to things. And think when you lose something, if you're not that attached to it, it's easy to have it pass through your life. But if you're or no, it's the opposite. If you're really attached to it, it's very difficult to lose it. But if it's something that you can give or take, if it's something that you know that you can replace, if it's something that, was only meant to be in your life for a temporary amount of time, then you just appreciate the time you had with it. This is the idea of people that get a lot of money. The moment they lose it, their lives are over. The moment they lose it, there's a lot of people that, go in Minecraft and jump off something high. Like it's it's very sad to see that people attach everything in their lives to material possessions, material things. Um, but yeah, it is what it is. It's just what you tie yourself to, be very careful that it's not something that's going to go out of your life.
Now, once that separation has occurred, there is incredible pain. We can call it being thrown out of the Garden of Eden. We can call it original sin, whatever you want to call that. I mean, there are different metaphors within different systems. But there is incredible pain. And in some profound way, all of our actions henceforth are an attempt to return to that being, for me, under Maharaji's blanket or in the heart of God or in the hand.
You're supposed to dissolve your ego and identity. You're born with no ego or identity, but you create it day after day after day. Your ego is basically how society views you. It's your accomplishments, it's the things you've done, it's the, sense of self you have that is enforced by all of your actions, but it's not truly you. You know what I mean? Like you're not just the money in your bank. You're not just your job. You're not just your accomplishments. You're so much more than that. But you are that if you purely see yourself as that. And that's the big issue with depression, anxiety. It's like we're so much more than we perceive ourselves to be. And this is basically our mind telling ourselves, like, you're not living up to your true potential. You're not living up to your true self. You're leaving some aspects of yourself unfulfilled. It's a part of growing, yeah.
And or being the one, coming back into the one. And we develop a whole set of techniques that we say make us feel good, give us a feeling for the moment of, yeah, ah. And some of those give us that moment so intensely, and the rest of our life is so much pain of our separateness and so devoid of that feeling that once we find one of those things, for example, it might be a moment of sexual orgasm. It might be a moment of surfing when you transcend the dualism between you and nature. It could be...
This is the idea of thrill seeking. It gives you such awareness, it makes you fixate on whatever you're doing so much right now that it removes every single stressor from the rest of life. This is why people love jumping out of planes. This is why people love doing stupid things, is because it gives them a heightened moment of awareness, almost like you would get from meditating for 30, 40 minutes straight. And this is why people will go thrill seeking. I have to go. I don't know if I'll stream again later. I will let you guys know either through my channel notification or through my Discord that I'm going to stream again later because you won't get the notification. Um, but yeah, if I don't see you later, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm going to post a video pretty soon after this. It's going to be, I think I'm going to go through 3 books that are going to skyrocket your creativity. That's a video that I'm really excited to film. So I'll get that film. I'll get it out in the next few hours. But thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thank you guys for having fun. I'll see you guys. Being alive, it feels great.